welcome to She Said
Let's
where we chat the tricks and treats of the business of film and TV
shine a light on women who've empowered us
and dish on plot twists in our life we just had to say.
let's too.
In today's episode, we'll be finding out how our zodiac signs affect Han and I's relationship,
Which signs our favorite Gossip Girl characters are,
and learn how some famous actors and writers exemplify their signs in new segment Your L is Showing. I am Kay.
and I am Hannah.
And today we have a very special guest, writer, astrologer, poet, lifestyle editor, and performer, Roya Backlund. Roya and I met in early 2020 in a screenwriting class and clicked right away. She was actually writing a pilot that had a lot of tarot and astrology in it, so of course I was very intrigued. Little did we know that a month or two later we would be moving to Zoom classes and not see each other in person again for over a year. But we still kept in touch throughout. And when she moved back to LA, because she moved to Torrance, right, for a little bit during the pandemic. Been there with your parents?
I lived with my parents at the time in Torrance, and I actually moved to Orange County during the pandemic because it was the pandemic and people were doing things like that at the time. They were moving to quieter, cheaper areas, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. But then the world started to return to, a semblance of normalcy, and we started getting out there more, and I started to miss LA again, and I moved back to LA at the beginning of 2023, I believe. Yeah.
And she just happened to move a mile from me. And if you know anything about living in LA, you know that proximity makes or breaks a friendship. So it was definitely
Accurate.
great that she moved just, a mile down the street. And she is my go-to astrology genius, if you will. And you will all be finding out why in this episode.
So Roya, we know you're an actor and a writer, but how has your experience in the astrology world helped you with either of those things? Or how does it factor into your writing and how you prepare for a role?
So, a big part of both acting and writing is the creation of a character. I feel like as an actor, you still have to create a character based on what is on the page. The writer can only give you so much, but you have to fill in the blanks. And with writing, in order to write believable characters that people love, you really have to get in their head and understand them and live through their eyes. And astrology is a really great way to look through each other's eyes. When we calculate each other's charts, we're just being given a roadmap of their life, and we can see what some of their difficult experiences were, what some of their natural talents are, the way they feel, what their instincts are. Understanding astrology to me is like really understanding human nature, and that completely factors into, I think, all of my art and all of my storytelling. It's just great for understanding the characters we all play, because even in life we're playing characters and we're wearing masks and designing this persona. And I think that astrology is just a beautiful and poetic way to talk about that.
The question that this podcast is based around is, what was something you were scared of doing in your film and TV career that you said let's do because a woman empowered you to do so, and who was that person for you?
I used to take a lot of acting classes in my early 20s, and I had one acting instructor, Elaine Williams, who was extremely empathetic and compassionate, but also a total hard ass. And your acting teacher really does need to be a hard ass and kind of put fear into you, because acting, in a way, you have to face your fear. And I feel like her style of instructing, it was like such a great balance of both. But anyway, I had always thought I was a natural actor. I was good at reading lines, and I could easily do that. But I would run into walls when I was really trying to get to really dark places for some roles, really get to that just completely crazy, uncontrollable, pure emotion, seeing red state that is so beautiful and magical when you do actually get into it as an actor. But it takes a while to reach that point in your training, to completely let go of your inhibitions and just let it overtake you. And I remember one day she gave me we were doing superlatives in class, and we had set up this superlative, and I had built characters in my mind and connections with them related to this scene. And so when the big, bomb went off in the scene, I did finally have that just uncontrollable moment. And I just remember Elaine was like, I've been waiting for this day. I've been waiting for it to happen. Like, it's been right there, right below the surface. I'm so glad you finally lost your shit. And, it was really cool. And that was one of the moments where I was like, wow, being an actor is magical, because when you do fully let go and like just really get into what is happening, it's such a weird experience. It's so like psychedelic almost. Like, you're disconnected from this life and you're embodying something else, and that's really cool.
It feels otherworldly. It's like you're no longer
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it happens in writing too. I think those moments happen in writing, right, where you're also just accessing something, and the words are flowing, and just something is taking over, like you're connected to the divine or something, and like you're being fed this, and you're like, I don't even know where this is coming from. It's so good when you get those moments, and it's like you're ice skating, and it's like, oh, I'm free, it's coming.
I think they do call it a flow state, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when you're running, and the rumor has it that when you run for a certain amount of time, you get to, I've never experienced such a thing in my life, but runners say that you get to like a high state where it doesn't hurt anymore and stuff. And I'm like,
oh yeah, it turns into like a euphoric state of some sorts.
Yeah. Well, in our 36 episodes of doing this thus far, I don't think that Hannah and I have ever been this excited for our segment ever. And that's because this segment is all about us, obviously. So how, you may ask? We're constantly told that we are yin and yang, which, by the way, I thought it was ying. I thought it was like yin.
You thought it was yin yang? Like yin and yang?
Yeah.
No, it's yin and yang.
Yeah. The spell check told me otherwise. So that we are yin and yang to one another, and that you, the listeners, love our dynamic is a lot of feedback that we get. So today you'll be finding out the astrological reasoning behind this in Let's Read a Bitch.
In this case, I mean, we are the bitches, and we've given Roya our birth chart information, and today she'll be quote unquote reading us. So usually we ask all the questions up top, but because we have many, we'll go one by one. So firstly, in your opinion, what do our charts say about how we affect one another in doing business together or working together, and then also within friendship?
So in really close relationships like the one you and Kay share, I tend to look for exact alignments between your charts. And I'm going to pull up my computer here because I have your charts right here. We're entering the cosmic lab here.
Professor Roya.
All right. So you share some really, really fascinating synastry, as a matter of fact. And it makes total sense why you guys would be partnerships in career and friendship. And both of your chart rulers are exactly conjunct, and your chart ruler is whatever planet rules your rising sign, and this planet is actually the most important planet in your birth chart. You think it's your sun, and sometimes it is if you're a Leo rising, because the sun rules Leo, but that is different for everyone else. Everyone else has a different planet that is usually more important than the sun. And in Kay's case, her ruling planet is Saturn in Capricorn. And that is because she is a Capricorn rising, and Saturn rules over Capricorn. But Hannah, she is a Scorpio rising, which means that she is ruled by Mars. And in her case, she has Mars in Cancer. Mars in Cancer forms an exact opposition to Kay's Saturn in Capricorn. So Kay's ruling planet is Saturn in Capricorn at 7 degrees. Saturn is the planet of restriction, limitation, delayed gratification, maturity. It is the planet that dictates how we grow, but also how we stay disciplined. It's a really strong ruling planet to have, especially in her case, because it's in Capricorn, which speaks to the military general that she is. Now, in Hannah's case, she is also very fierce, a warrior in her own right. Not so much a general, but certainly one of the most powerful on the force. She is a Scorpio rising, which means that she is ruled by Mars, planet of action, aggression, power, and sex. Physicality is what Mars is all about. And in her case, Mars is in Cancer at 7 degrees. So, with both of these planets directly opposing each other, because Cancer and Capricorn are opposite signs, they are sister signs, it is essentially as if both of your chart rulers are like shaking hands and saying, we're coming together and we're going to work together. But it can also mean that you will have disagreements and frictions because you are completely different. You do balance each other out. One will contribute in ways the other cannot. But you will be coming from different directions. You'll be coming from different angles and you're opposing each other. So sometimes you can feel like adversaries. But that is what all great partnerships are about. A bit of a power struggle.
It's so funny because it's so true.
I know. Well, how does it play into, I guess, that's like our work, right? But like, I guess in our friendship, would we still be having kind of the same, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you share a lot of dynamics. One thing I also think is interesting, and another exact alignment in your chart, is Hannah's Venus in Gemini is at 28 degrees. Venus is the planet of friendship and love and indulgence. Venus is about how we feel good and how we enjoy ourselves. And yours is in Gemini, Hannah, which means that you really enjoy intellectual connection and communication and being changeable and adaptable and flexible and going with the flow and being a little detached, but just detached enough to where you can like kind of make your escape when you need to. And your Venus is forming an exact square to Kay's Mercury in Virgo at 28 degrees. And Mercury is actually exalted in Virgo. And so in this dynamic you share, Kay is definitely the dominant person because Mercury is exalted in your chart, Kay. And Mercury is the planet of communication, logic, logistics, planning, comprehension. And with it in Virgo, you're like a data analyst. You are always getting down to the nitty gritty. You have spreadsheets. You know exactly where something is. Oh, you're looking for something that you lost 10 years ago. I know exactly where it is. It's behind my shoe in the closet. I know. Come here right now. I'll show you. But that is where you guys can your chemistry
crying laughing because it's all to a fucking T with her and spreadsheets and being the dominant one. I FaceTimed her before this and I was wearing these plaid like boxer shorts, this shirt, and a green Noah Khan hat that I got last night. And I go, so what do we think of this fit? And she goes, don't fucking wear that hat.
I was like, no, that
done. Conversation over.
Yeah.
I immediately took it off. I was like,
Matter
got
settled.
it.
But I explained why. I said, when you wear your hats and we record the whole time, there's a shadow on your face. It's not just going to be one recording, so it makes sense that you take it off. Otherwise, we won't be able to see you. And then you can't wear the shorts because the shorts match the hat. So I was like, just wear it. She's like, but I want to be comfy. I'm like, well, then wear some biker shorts or something that match.
So I put on the outfit that I had on right before I called her.
No, not for the planner, not for the Mercury and Virgo. That is not that is not what it's about. See, that's where your friction is. You're like the person who wants to get dressed last minute before you leave. You're like, I'm just gonna I'll figure it out. And then like the magic of like the rush will make me choose something cool. But then Kay's like, you should have picked your outfit out like last night, like and looked through it 3 different times because now you're not noticing that this part doesn't really fit well, does it? But you do need both of that. Like Kay, you also do need some help just like letting go and like going with the flow and just like letting it be. Because the thing about being a Venus and Gemini, because hey, I can relate, I'm a Venus and Gemini, we really like to we do not want to put that much effort into anything. Effort is antithesis to being a Venus and Gemini. Like we want to think about things, talk about things, read about things, learn about things. We don't want to do things.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to do that.
There are moments where I just don't want to use my brain cells.
Exactly. We need our brains busy, but we can always be like, yeah, we could be busy, but like we'll still manage to be lazy at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
You also share just an easy flow between your relationships, a flow that contributes well to friendship. And I mean, we've talked about your career, but there is definitely a lot of career potential in both of your charts and the way they align. But Hannah, you bring a lot of creativity into Kay's life and a lot of fun. Hannah, your Venus falls into Kay's 5th house, and it's just the area of excitement, playfulness, and it makes sense why there's like an artistic connection between you guys. And also, Hannah, you have your Sun and your Mercury in Kay's 7th house of partnerships, which essentially means that you guys see an ideal partner in each other. And there's just something about the way that you choose to be together that has like this balancing element. Like, I will bring what you lack, and then we will meet in the middle and we will figure it out. And hey, you introduce Hannah to a lot of people. You really help Hannah's social life and network expand. Your Sun and Mercury and your Mars are all in her 11th house of community and philanthropy and community ideals. You really encourage her to dream big and to just the sky is the limit, especially in a city like LA. And introduce yourself to everybody. Leave your card here. Make an impression. You're always encouraging her to do these things and bring her to that level. And you also just see each other in each other, because Kay, your Venus in Scorpio is also conjunct her rising sign. And so that is just like a love at first sight kind of moment too. Like, I bet you guys really liked each other very quickly. There wasn't really a moment. Yeah, like there was definitely an intensity between you. Like, and I think you guys actually, I mean, even if there was friction, I feel like you guys still liked each other when you met.
I wanted to be her friend, but she hated me at first because of people I was friends with. And then we hung out.
But then I actually got to know her.
Well, I was going to say, then
her.
we hung out in Vegas. Like, we finally got to hang out in Vegas for our mutual friend's birthday. And we immediately were like, oh, wait.
You just needed to get her alone. You need to drag her off into a corner.
You get me alone. So, Roya, what does Hannah's chart say about her as an actor? As an actor.
All right, Moira Rose.
I know. And what does mine say about me as a writer? What may our futures in both of these endeavors be? You can throw in anything interesting you find out from our charts in here too about us as a pair or separate when it comes to how it may affect our film and TV careers together specifically.
Okay. So I'll start with you, Hannah. Right off the bat, you're a Leo. That is the zodiac sign of the artist, the self-expressive individual, the person who wants to be on stage, to be seen. And with you being a Scorpio rising, your Leo is actually your 10th house of publicity. So not only that, but you want to be career focused about this art. This is an artistic side of you that wants to, you want it to be your profession, your legacy. It's not just a hobby for you. It's a way of life for you. And it's what you will be most known for. Your fortune placement is also in Leo, along with your Lilith. And that's called the Black Moon Lilith.
Oh, I've heard of Lilith.
Yes. And Lilith basically represents your hidden power. It is where you come across softer, more vulnerable, less of a foe, less fearsome, but then other people are missing just how fearsome you really are. That's why I always associate Lilith with like the femme fatale character. You don't really think she can be that badass because she's just this gorgeous woman. And sometimes femme fatales can like kind of have this innocent quality as well. But then they end up being the one that like the main character has to fear the most. The main character might sleep with the femme fatale, but she might have a knife at his neck by the end of the movie, and she might be the bad guy all along. And with your Lilith conjunct these planets in Leo, I would say that there are going to be people who maybe underestimate you in your career, but then you will always have the last say, and you will always get your revenge. And you will probably play characters who, have similar themes that they go through. I actually find a lot of the time that actors tend to have some sort of a reason they gravitate to certain roles, and it's a reflection of themselves in some way or something they lack. And so in your case, I have a feeling that this hidden power element will be an aspect of your acting career. So Kay, let's talk about Kay now. Kay, something that's really great about your chart, and it is something that says you will succeed at literally anything you do, whether it's writing, stripping, leading a Fortune 500 company, you will excel at it and you will be known for it. And it's just you're the kind of person that makes a name of yourself no matter what you do. And that is because your midheaven, which is the most public part of your chart, it is in Scorpio. And that, my friend, is your Venus. Venus is the planet of pleasure, of love, of allure, of seduction. And you can basically seduce your way through any career. And seduction does not necessarily mean I am going to sleep with my boss, and no judgment to those who do that at all. Like, there are we all have our stories. But you are a seductress in what you do. You seduce with your writing. You seduce with the connections you make. You learn what people need to hear and what they need from you, and you find a way to deliver that. And I say that is just powerful no matter what you do. But as a writer, I mean, obviously, hello, you got Virgo up the yin yang here. You've got a Virgo moon. You've got a Mercury in Virgo. Hello, Mercury is exalted in Virgo. We've already talked about this. You're an extremely intelligent person, period. Extremely intelligent, really, really great at quantifying facts, learning really quickly, absorbing a lot of information all at once, solving a problem, writing a plot line, and making sure it all fits, which is hard. Okay. Story writing is not easy. But you definitely have the intelligence and the passion to actually succeed, to actually get there.
I was just going to say, some, call me out and say that it's manipulation. But even if it is, doesn't everybody manipulate a bit to get what they want?
That's why I was sitting over here losing my shit.
Yeah. I used to think that it was something about how I loved behavioral psychology. I was like, oh, I just really like knowing what makes people tick and noticing things about people and then doing things that I think they would like, or I notice what makes them feel good and then I can do more of that. Do I actually want to be doing this? Is it natural for me to do it? It's natural, but I don't want to be doing it. But I know that the results of me doing so are usually good for me, which is exactly what you're saying.
I think that in order to be successful and to maintain power over your enemies is how you master seduction. I've actually been reading this book called The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. Highly recommend. Oh my God, it's so good. It goes through all the different styles of seduction of human history and human nature, and it shows examples throughout history of how the seduction, how it has played out and how it has helped people and get ahead. And it's very illuminating. And that is what I mean. Some of the most amazing historical figures used seduction to get to places, and it's not always romantic. It is not always romantic, but it is always seductive.
That could be dangerous for me to read.
So it was basically destiny, I would say, that you guys work together. Truly. There's a destined element in your charts here, especially Hannah, actually. Like, Kay is a very strategic figure in your destiny and shaping your destiny. So your North Node, yeah, you could not escape Kay if you tried.
Are you my God?
Hannah, your North Node of destiny. Now, the North Node is the point in our birth charts that represents the highest that we are trying to achieve and attain. Our highest potential, it is what we're trying to learn through this life, and it doesn't really come naturally to us. On the other side of the North Node is your South Node, and that represents the karma of all your past lives and all the baggage you're carrying from the past, but also all the wisdom. And throughout life, you find balance between your North Node and your South Node. But in your case, Kay is one of the people that is here to teach you how to do the things that you came to this life to do. Your North Node is in Libra, and that is very close to her sun in Libra. So, Kay is a teacher for you, Hannah. That is a big part of it. A bit of a feisty, aggressive teacher too, because Mars is involved. She's that coach, like, another lap, like, go, like, she's not gonna let you rest. Hell no.
I'm screaming and almost crying because it's so funny, but also so accurate. God, astrology's so real, guys. This is insane.
You
in
also
the best way.
You do return the favor for Kay, for sure. Your energy, your vitality, your way of life, just like your primal impulses as a person, always puts Kay in lucky situations and helps Kay grow and expand. Okay, so Hannah's Mars in Cancer is exactly conjunct or closely conjunct Kay's Jupiter in Cancer, which also happens to be in the sixth house of productivity, action, planning, routine. And having Hannah as a part of your life makes your life exciting. You do a lot together. You have a lot of your daily regimens and your way of life are interwoven in a lot of ways. And that is just going to put you in a position of like feeling like you're full, you're taken care of, you're able to do your things. It actually, in a way, in a funny way, Hannah encourages you to be productive, or her presence in your life allows you to be productive. And also just the way she roots for you and encourages you.
I
She
am
does.
a big cheerleader.
You are such a cheerleader.
There is also evidence here that you do know each other from before this life, in a previous life. Okay, your north node is in Aquarius and your south node is in Leo. Not only does this mean that you were likely a famous person in your past life, you are someone who may have been royalty on some level, perhaps royalty, but it could also be Hollywood royalty. Just a person that is well known, well respected, regarded with a goddess like aura. And that is what you came into this life with. And you probably were like growing up, like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by peasants all the time. Well, who can
I
blame you?
literally just said this in the fucking recording we had before this, that I thought everyone is so boring and I couldn't stand being around them in Michigan.
Yep, there it is. There it is. But Hannah, your sun is in Leo. And with that alignment between you, your sun in Leo and Kay's south node in Leo, you were likely someone she knew then. And that's why she felt familiar on some level. You said that you had like a funny start to your relationship, but that once you guys really got alone and really started hanging out and like you were forced to be together because you were on a trip, it was like really natural at that point. And it like from that moment on, you were really good friends. And that is actually a quite common occurrence when you have south node synastry, because it's just this feeling of familiarity. Like, I know you from before. We've done this before. Like, there's something about you that feels comforting because y'all know each other already.
We've lived a life together before.
That's so wild.
That is wild. Like, oh,
I know. And
I love it though.
Can
It's
you tell by the birth charts like how many lives that we've had? Like, can you tell, like, could you tell if I had lived more lives than Hannah has lived? Or, you know what I'm
or
saying?
vice
Like,
versa.
yeah.
I'm sure there are some astrologers who could maybe tell you that. I don't have the right techniques to get that specific, but I do think it also comes down to how old the zodiac sign is. If you came here with a Pisces south node or just Pisces placements, you have the oldest soul. And if you come here with Aries, you might be a bit of a younger soul and that's the first sign in the zodiac. And actually, Hannah, your south node is in Aries. So I would say perhaps that Hannah is a younger soul than you are, okay? And just being around you guys, I feel like that's apparent as well.
Yeah.
And Hannah, in part of your journey in this life is really to learn how to like work with others, be in a partnership, be in harmony with others. And if I may be as so brash as to say that maybe
Please.
growing up you were a bit of a lone wolf, like you were good at being on your own and you felt almost safer being on your own, like you can protect yourself.
I had so many imaginary friends growing up.
And through Kay, you are learning how to work with others and how to have others be in on your vision and help bring your vision to life and then contribute to your vision. And realizing that there is actually safety in partnership and in letting other people affect your projects and influence them, right? Because it's not always easy. I'm a Mars in Aries, so I totally get the instinct to just work on your own. Believe me, I'm a great independent worker, and being on a team has its challenges for me too. So
wild. Okay, so Last question about the birth charts.
Okay.
Why do you think that Leo and Libra are consistently paired with one another? It seems to be a constant, like, in love, friendships, chaotic duos, etc. But we, of course, have an idea of why that is for us. But in general, what is your personal take on it?
Well, in a more technical sense, Libra and Leo are always usually pretty compatible because of the alignment that they make to each other. They form a sextile, and that is a positive alignment. That is when two different forces are coming together and meeting in the middle and helping each other out, even though they are kind of different and they're coming from different angles. They're meeting and they're helping, handing over a helping hand. Generally speaking, fire signs will get along with air signs, and water signs will get along with earth signs and other water signs. And so aside from the fact that they're technically on a textbook level compatible, I always think of Libra and Leo kind of like prom king and prom queen. They're both very flashy, glamorous signs. Leo is ruled by the sun. Libra is ruled by Venus. Those are two planets that really like to shine. They really like to glow. They always like to be dressed to the nines. They like to be the center of attention. Libra loves to be the beautiful object in the room. Leo loves to be the majestic power in the room. But there is a huge difference between them too, because Leos can be hella stubborn, very stubborn in my experience, but also astrologically, they are very set on their vision, and it's really hard for them to like let other people tinker with it. And if they disagree with your vision, they'll fight on it. Libras are a bit different. Libra can compromise a bit more. Libra is usually willing to see the pros and cons of changing something, and they're willing to take like their ego out of it a little bit more and do what's better for the project. However, the negative side of that is Libra can be a bit of a people pleaser, and Leo can have the opposite of that. Like, I'm not going to please anyone because I'm going to do things my way and I don't care if you like it. Whereas Libras are like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of like, upsetting my relationship with this person, or like, I'm afraid of making this awkward, whereas Leos don't usually have a problem with that. They'll make things awkward if they have to. They'll make a scene, But
Make things awkward unintentionally sometimes, just from things that come out of my mouth, and like a walking intrusive thought sometimes.
Yes, that's so Leo. They are who they are. All the fixed signs really are like, and you're a Scorpio rising too. All the fixed signs, those are Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus. Those are all the stubborn
I'm a Taurus
personalities.
moon too.
Oof, okay, yeah, you are fixed. You are super fixed. You are hella fixed. You are a screw in the wall fixed. Like, you are a locked door.
And I'm super cardinal because I have a Capricorn rising and I'm a Libra. So
very cardinal, very much pusher, a person who is always trying to get ahead, a person who is always trying to break the world record, a person who wants to encourage everyone to just go the extra mile. And then the fixed signs are like, hey, wait a minute, you gotta let me catch up. Like, I need like 5 years to get used to this. Like, before I make any changes. So the reason that fire and air go together and water and earth tend to go together, there are many reasons, but if you just think about it on a very literal level, does water and air go together? No, it does not. Whenever air is in water, it just floats back up. You see little bubbles and they pop, and there is never going to be too much interaction between them. However, water and earth, they work together. When it rains, it nurtures the earth. It creates mud, it creates soil, it nourishes our crops. It forms the basis of our world. And think about air and fire. Air fans flames. Air fans fire into life. It'll turn a little ember into a full-blown flame. And fire needs air in order to even exist. Without air, fire would just extinguish. And, earth is also the basis of water as well. It is what nourishes water. It needs minerals. It needs flavor. There's something about the way those elements work together. And it's when you think about it on that level, astrology really is just a lot of symbols. And once you just have to have a strong intuition and just like a creative mind to understand astrology. Because like if you think about the elements that way, you can make a lot of interpretations based on that when you meet people. Like, oh no, sorry, we are water and air. Like, you're just gonna float away from me. So you think about these things, you know?
Yeah, but what's so funny about it is even as someone who like finds myself semi obsessed with this, I never even thought of it on like a level of just the actual literal meaning of it. Like when you when you say that, I'm like, oh shit, of course. It's just crazy that we don't even. I'm like, well, I'm an air sign.
I feel
you
like
know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
the time we don't even think about like the actual elements themselves.
Yeah.
Totally. You think it's like some made up shit, but it's actually like based on our world. It's all based on our world, and once you realize that, it just all clicks into place. I agree. Once I started to think about the elements, and also this lends itself into tarot readings as well. When I just started to think about imagery and symbolism in a more creative way, I feel like I was able to glean so much more from both of those things.
Well, now that we have been read to filth, if you will, it is time to read some popular TV characters we know and love. So we are back with
I'm a blank,
where we choose a movie or TV show and decide which character we are and the backstory of why.
This week we'll be doing one of the most popular teen dramas of the 2000s, Gossip Girl, where a bunch of Upper East Side privileged prep school kids are tormented by a mystery gossip starter.
A bunch of huge stars came out of this show, and spoiler alert, the girl actually ends up being a guy. The gossip girl is a gossip guy, if you will. So, Roya, since we are doing a Zodiac edition of this today, can you tell us what signs that you think the characters of this show are and some examples of why you think that may be?
Why don't we start with Gossip Girl himself? Spoiler alert, do not listen further if you have not finished Gossip Girl. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's discuss Dan Humphrey. I actually think he's a perfect example of a combination Gemini Scorpio. There's definitely some Scorpio in there. I would almost venture to say Scorpio moon, but definitely Gemini sun, and I would say Gemini Mercury. I think that combination would be able to lie that well and really keep that big of a secret. Geminis are really great at lying, but they don't always keep that many secrets. Geminis, they're usually like pretty comfortable with just being honest. Like they'll blurt things out, and if it's too dark, they'll tell you. Like it's not like they're trying to hide it. But Scorpios, they have really big secrets, and they are trying to hide it. That's the thing with Scorpios; they are so deep, and the depth, that emotional intensity, it is because they also have so many secrets. And the Gemini in his chart is why he's able to lie so well, and it's great because his Scorpio really did control the whole school, and the Gemini was able to be their friend at the same time while doing it.
Aren't most like either sociopaths, psychopaths, or serial killers either Scorpios or Geminis?
I've seen those statistics, and while I think that they are flawed, I do think the mutable signs tend to show up a lot in serial killers' birth charts, and those are Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius. You tend to see all those signs a lot in serial
There's
killers'
so
charts.
many Pisces killers. So many Pisces killers, which if anybody knows me, you know that I despise a Pisces. So
I am a Pisces moon chart ruler, though, and you love me.
Yeah, I do, but I'm just talking about in general, sister. I'm mostly talking about men. Men are usually killers anyways,
Well, yeah,
So,
it is
yeah.
usually the men.
Yeah, usually any sign is usually worse in a man. Jenny Humphrey. Let's talk about, a little Gossip Girl Jr. Well, she didn't really have anything to do with Gossip Girl, but she was his junior. He was his younger sister. I really see strong Aquarius with her, and that is because she's always been different. She always had her own style that was completely nothing like any of the girls she went to her prep school with. She was always kind of edgy, always wanted to be different and go against the grain, and that's very Aquarius. They love to be the first to discover something or the first to try something, set a trend. And while they act like they really don't care about fitting in with society and meshing with the masses, they always somehow end up in like positions of power, and they always end up like leading where they would always say they would never lead. You know, they don't care. I just want to be a lone wolf, but they always end up somehow leading. And that's exactly what happens to Jenny. She ends up taking over Blair Waldorf's position and running the popular clique at school. And I'm like, total Aquarius move. And then she ends up changing all their style from like Blair preppy headbands to like edgy, like almost little pop punk princess vibes. So, you know, bravo, Jenny. Extreme Aquarius move. Blair is an interesting one. I actually do think she's a pretty great example of the Libra Capricorn square. And it's funny because we see that in Kay over here. Kay is a Libra with a Capricorn rising. So she's got that square going on pretty heavily. And I actually do think Kay kind of has some Blair Waldorf energy. Blair is extremely ambitious, a really, really I cannot lose type person. I would never embarrass myself as to lose. I would rather die than lose. I would literally prefer that. Like she had so many moments just like that. But at the same time, man, Blair is a hopeless romantic. Oh boy, is she a hopeless romantic. She was just a flirty, romantic, like rom-com loving, Paris loving little basic bitch. Total Libra. And both of those sides of her personality cause a lot of friction. Hello. Her love interests were her downfall constantly, and her friendships, and just her keeping up with the popularity contest of her, like, you know, of Manhattan, keeping up with all of that. At the same time, she wants to be this Yale graduate. She's trying to keep up with both worlds. And yeah, Blair's a fascinating character.
I sure am.
I was gonna say, I love how you kept like looking over at Kay. Like
Kay is so similar to Blair. Like she's like like the LA version of Blair.
Yeah, a little trendier. Yeah, I guess she is very New York. What about Serena?
Oh, Pisces. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. How often do we hear her say that in the show?
So many times.
I mean, we could literally get drunk. We can make that a drinking contest or game.
A drinking game, yeah.
A drinking game, and like take a shot every single time Serena has to go. Boom, obliterated by episode 3. Done. Dunzo.
That's true.
Yeah, and Serena just gets swept up in things. She gets swept up. She gets swept up in horrible, horrible men. She gets swept up in crazy schemes, and she has so many enemies. Like so many people have like one-sided beef with Serena, and that's so Pisces. Okay, people love to project onto Pisces, and the thing is, Pisces has this way of being influenced really deeply about they're very influenced by their surroundings, very sensitive, very porous individuals. And I feel like Serena just gets swept up. Like she'll be a different person every other episode. She's a chameleon and changing, and she's always looking for love, always looking for love. She is so wants to be held so badly, wants to be understood so badly, wants to finally find her home. And that is also so Pisces. They have these unrealistic expectations. And I feel like that is Serena too. She's always looking for something and always has to go. And Pisces love to escape also. Boy, do they love to escape.
Well, then you got to go to Chuck.
Oh, yeah, Chuck. Let's go with Chuck. Okay. Total Aries. That is an Aries man if I have ever seen one. Okay. And I mean, there's definitely other stuff going on in there too, but let's just talk about the Aries. Only an Aries would constantly talk about themselves in the third person and remind everyone who they are. I mean, how many times do we hear him say, I'm Chuck Bass? Like, anytime they're like, why would you do that? And he's like, I'm Chuck Bass. And it's like, hey, Chuck, can you answer the phone real quick? I'm Chuck Bass. Or, hey, Chuck, can you take the trash out? I'm Chuck Bass. Like anything you say to him, he will remind you that he is Chuck Bass. And that's so Aries. Aries are so obsessed with their brand and like who they are as a brand. I mean, like Aries, they really need to figure out what their persona is going to be early on, because otherwise they're just going to go crazy. And like Chuck Bass definitely had his persona. He's like a 50-year-old rich man in like a little high schooler's body who has a drinking problem and goes and hangs out with strippers. Like he's just already like, he's already got divorced dad vibes, you know, already.
How old were they supposed to be during the show? Like 17 or 15?
that show was ridiculous. They were all partying like they were in their 30s, their late 20s. Like they had like all the most expensive drugs in the club. No one ever carded them, and they basically just had full range societal access and VIP access, and they were like 15, 16, 17. They were getting invited to all the PR events, all the brand. And I'm like, why are you here? Why does this high schooler here?
They were living the real life, or no, the TV show life that the Hilton sisters were actually living in New York at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. 8, Taurus. Yeah. Taurus, they just have to sit there and people come to them. They're ruled by Venus. That is actually Venus's most favorite sign to be in. I think Venus is in Taurus. It's like it's like home, because it's like Taurus is just like sensual comforts. You know what it is? Taurus is sensual comforts and Libra is social romantic connections. Those are the two different sides of Venus. Actually, I would say that Venus's absolute favorite sign to be in might be Pisces, because Venus is exalted in Pisces. Because Venus can be like the dreamer in that sign, and like Venus can put glitter on everything in that sign and make it like mystical and other, like, you know, love on steroids vibes is Venus and Pisces. Nate is a Taurus because he just has to sit there and people will come to him. Girls will come to him. He just has to sit there and like literally wait, and they will come. And I never really find that he pursues women very much in the show. He gets pursued a lot.
Yeah, I think almost every time.
Yeah.
If not every single time.
Yes.
Look at his face.
Yeah. Well, yeah, honestly,
Gorge. But also
same.
it is the personality, obviously.
Like he's almost kind of womanly in that sense. Like he is not like the courtship guy who's like gonna go like what Blair wanted was the courtship guy, the guy who was gonna put up all the stops and chase her and put up a whole show and put himself through strenuous efforts to win her love. That's what she wanted, right? And I would not necessarily say Taurus is usually the best sign for that, unless they are completely obsessed with you. If you get a Taurus to do that, they are obsessed with you. Okay.
The last person that I really must know about, because I feel like she was one of my favorite characters, is Georgina Sparks.
I always got Leo vibes from her, actually. I always got Leo energy. I will never forget this one line that she said, and it was like, I need to go get drunk just to make all of you more interesting. And I'm like, that is so Leo. Leo is so bored already. I would say that's Gemini as well. But in her case, to me, I think she was very Leo. But honestly, also, I see the Gemini too, actually. I could see both of those signs in her because she could change personalities totally. Like she also like became a million different people throughout the show. But she never changed she never really changed. Like right underneath the surface, she was still there. She was just playing a part for a little while. And probably the most fearsome foe on the entire show. And Leos are the lions for a reason. And in that society, a Leo would win, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
That's true.
Well, we are coming to you with another brand new segment called
Your L is Showing,
which L in this case is going to stand for Leo or Libra, two of the most full of themselves signs that there are.
So, in this segment, we're going to highlight famous Leo actors, for me, and famous Libra writers, for K. Roya is going to tell you how their sign may affect their work or who they are as a person from what we know about them as a public figure.
So, first up, we have the ultimate Leo of Leos, who is also a Zodiac girly, as shown in her new film or newer film, This Is Me Now. And it is a J-Lo, otherwise known as Jennifer Lopez. Duh.
Oh my goodness. J-Lo is really just the complete caricature of a Leo in the best ways and the worst ways, truly. She has had such an amazing, sprawling career. And I mean, only a Leo would master acting and have a film career, and then also master a music career, and then also master the fashion world too, and have her own beauty brand, is a Leo. but girl, she does not know when to stop either. Like at the same time, she in a way, the younger generations don't really know that much about JLo, so they don't really necessarily have the same attachment to her that I would say millennials and up might have. And like, you know, when Bennifer happened, the Gen Z didn't really even know what that meant, and we were all like, oh my god. And JLo was kind of trying to still sell that and expecting those results. And I feel like in JLo's shoes, I would be like, I'm just gonna like take a break and like enjoy my money and enjoy my time in my marriage and like just chill off my career because I've made so much money. Yeah. And like the way that she funded her own documentary with like her own money, $20 million, I'm like completely a move. Like, yes, of course, 20 million for myself. It's so worth it.
Wrote, directed, and performed in her own movie.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, fun nonetheless. Like she, you know, she's fun to hate and also fun to love at the same time, I would say. Because I do feel bad for her seeing all this stuff in the tabloids too. And like the whole way that that relationship is branded is so Leo. And you can, you know, Ben is like not down for that. And I do think it's interesting how their relationship fell apart at first because of the publicity, and now it's going to fall apart again because of the publicity. And it just goes to show you that you should really never get back together with your ex because it's never going to get better. But
he's a Leo too, isn't he? Isn't he a Leo?
Yeah, he's a Leo.
Yeah, they have
too.
similar charts, so like they are both very set in their ways. They're not going to change for each other. And yes, I know, total example of two different kinds of Leos too, because Ben is the stay home and veg out Leo. And Jennifer is the be seen, have my photograph taken, make some more money, be famous Leo. And they both are very much Leos. There's some very Taurus-like Leos out there, I would say. Yeah.
Next, we have an artist that Kay and I both really love, a Libra woman who can notoriously mimic her voice and have done so on many a karaoke nights and will continue to do so in the future. She is a singer, writer, and poet. Halsey.
So one of the first things that I come to with Halsey is her makeup brand and her makeup persona and just the way she's so good at doing her own makeup. You know, a lot of stars and pop stars, actors, just famous people in Hollywood, they have no clue how to beautify themselves. But Halsey does it herself. And that's one reason why her makeup brand is so standout. I don't normally like a lot of celebrity like makeup brands, but Halsey's is different. Halsey's is like, you know, like an artist's brand. It's she's got a million different shades of everything, and it's like little paintbrush swatches, and that's so Libra, you know, just going the extra mile when it comes to the creative flair of what you're doing. And also her music is so about her love interests, and Libras love singing about love, but also their own empowerment as they break free from those partnerships. Because Libra really is the act of oscillating back and forth between being in a partnership and then finding yourself again. And I think that Halsey has been through so many phases in terms of her relationships and in her persona, and continues to go through that kind of back and forth between finding herself again as she goes through life.
Well, yeah, and she actually is, the reason why her makeup brand is like that is because she actually is an art, like a painter and everything is seen as on like, you know, certain performances she has, she'll literally do live art like while she's singing, which is crazy.
Just obviously. An all-around artist. And Libras are usually some of the best artists in the Zodiac. I can pick a few other signs, but Libra is definitely one of them.
Look at that. It's me.
Yeah.
Well, the next Leo we have is an only child icon, which everybody knows that I love my only children, who is an actress, producer, and activist, and it is Charlize Theron. Or Theron. Theron?
Yeah.
Theron?
Charlize Theron.
I've heard her say it's Theron, like in an interview once.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, she said Theron.
Okay, then listen to Charlize.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am a big fan of Charlize Theron. If she's in a movie, I will watch it. And I love everything. I love the B-sides. Like Young Adult, that is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I love her in that movie. But what makes her so Leo is just everything. everything about her is so Leo. When she enters a room, I've never been in the same room as her, but I would imagine that when she enters that room, everyone's attention immediately pivots to her. She is a lioness. She is a tall woman, a extremely beautiful, tall, goddess-like woman. Like when I imagine a goddess, I imagine her being this really tall woman, and like just like this gold gilded blonde hair, and like all these femme fatale roles that she's played, and she's fearsome, and like I do think Leos are fearsome, and they have this like this bite to them. Like they're beautiful and glamorous, but you know they could bite you if they need to. And she brings that into every role she does. Even her really like sweet characters have a bite to them because they cast Charlize Theron in that role for a reason. That character has to have something about them that's a little dangerous, a little unsettling. And I think that her most Leo role is definitely the evil queen in like Snow White and the Huntsman. Like to me, that is such a Leo role. Like she was horrifying in that role, but gorgeous at the same time. Like the most beautiful woman who's also a monster at the same time. So Leo. That's a Leo villain.
Well, and I think, something that we were talking earlier about, parts of your lives or how you pick roles. And I think a lot of her roles are dirty or ugly or, scary. And I think that is also just from her childhood going into like she watched her dad was like really abusive and her mom actually murdered her dad in front of her.
Yes.
Which is wild.
I did know that.
And she's an only child, so it was just her and her mom.
And I did not know
in order
that.
for a Leo to earn that bite, they have to overcome something. So the Leos that are just like the real, like full powerful, very powerful Leos who could take you down, they usually had to go through something to earn that. And I feel like Charlize is a perfect example of that. Having to come between her mom and her stepdad or boyfriend, and like that's absolutely the foundation of her Leo energy.
Next on the Libra list is one of our favorite writers, directors, Guillermo del Toro.
So one thing a lot of people don't know about Libra is they love horror. They love horror. They love ghosts. They love like goth. They love Victorian shit, and they love haunted objects and ghost tours and all that. And I mean, let's be real. Their birthday is in October, and everyone knows it's the weeks leading up to Halloween that are so much more fun than Halloween itself. Like it is the preparation for Halloween that is the really fun part. And Libra season is the preparatory sign. Libra season is when you are preparing for Halloween. And Guillermo del Toro's movies are gothic, they are horror, but they're so romantic too. Every single one of his movies is creepy, but also extremely beautiful and romantic. I mean, Crimson Peak, perfect example of that Libra goth romantic energy. It's such a twisted movie. It really is. But your heart is sinking during all those parts because you fell in love with love. And the same goes with The Shape of Water. That woman fell in love with like a creature, and you get it. You get it. I get it. And that to me is Libra art. When the creepy comforts the disturbed, and when the creepy disturbs the comforted.
Well, that was such a line. I gotta use that.
Yeah,
so we
honestly,
gotta put
that needs to be like a starting line of something.
I'm surprised I got it right, and I didn't have to repeat myself.
That was so good.
That is amazing. I have like chills. Well, and also I've never really thought about why I love like horror and also Halloween and stuff so much is because sometimes I also think, because obviously, Scorpio is during Halloween, but I think that Libras actually deal with Halloween so much different than Scorpios do, just because Scorpios are less intrigued in like the aesthetics of everything and the detailing of how they look in their costumes and decorations for the thing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's definitely a Libra thing to be like really obsessed with pretty things and whatever, but pretty in like a cryptic way because of Halloween.
I totally agree. And it's interesting that you say that because the Pluto and Libra generation. So Pluto is a generational planet, and it changes signs like every 20 years. And that is what dictates our generations. Pluto in Libra is Gen X, Pluto in Scorpio is millennial, Pluto in Sagittarius is Gen Z. So I think it's interesting that Gen X, in a way, those are the original goth kids. And their Pluto is in Libra, and Pluto is the planet of death, and Libra is aesthetic. So think about it, death aesthetic. Gen X, they really did refine like new metal and goth and like just all that dark grunge music, and that's Pluto and Libra. It's the aesthetic of the gruesome. And yeah, the way you say that is so true. That's why I do love Libra associated with horror and all those aesthetics.
Wait, so just like going off topic, but I must know. So my Pluto is in Scorpio, and you're saying that our, as the millennials, are also Pluto is in Scorpio?
Yes. So we're all part of that generation.
So like, what does that mean for us coming after the Gen X Libra Pluto? You know what I mean? Because we're all millennials here.
Yeah. Well, Scorpio is the zodiac sign of death and rebirth. It's also the zodiac sign of investments and depth. And millennials went through a lot at a very young age. Like, I feel like the whole American dream idea was shattered very soon, very young for millennials. We realized that everything is messed up very early on. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. We started, I think a big one is 9/11. After that, we really realized, oh my God, like, what is this world? What is going on? Something's wrong. Something's not right. And we knew nothing what we thought is true is ever going to be true again. And then we had the housing market crash, Scorpio investments. We had the whole Occupy Wall Street movement, and that was not during Pluto and Scorpio, but it was like our generation that was really experiencing that, and the ones at that protest. A lot of the older millennials were at those protests. And yes, the Pluto and Scorpio generation just went through a lot. And in a way, I would say that they reacted to that by going all out with the cute shit and like the Disneyland shit and the corny peace signs and the boomerangs and like the millennial humor. It's like millennial humor is just so like awkward and random and silly, and it's because we're so traumatized that we have to balance it out with some cute shit.
Wow, that is so interesting.
God, no, it all makes so much more sense.
I know. So what are the Gen Z? Pluto is in
Sagittarius?
Pluto and Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius is like philosophy. It's like dogma, and also can be religion. And I think that Gen Z has some really strong rules for what's cool and what's not cool. And they are, in my opinion, and I think based on the fact that it is Pluto and Sag, they're very blunt. They're very, very much concerned about like looking like cool compared to millennials. The millennials are like the sensitive kids who can't grow up. And Pluto and Sagittarius is like, they're like the rock stars who are like, oh my God, get a hold of yourself. You're embarrassing everyone. And like, they're like, why are you still wearing like ankle socks? And like, why are you parting your hair to the side? And like, the Sagittarius is like perspective. It is philosophy. And if you've ever met a Sagittarius, they love to debate. And I feel like that Pluto and Sag generation is very much like that, wanting to debate. They're the ones who've really thrown away previous traditions more than any of those other generations I just mentioned. They are the ones that are like, I mean, the Gen Z intern is a meme. Like, they're so sick of the grind culture. They want to live life in their own terms. Very Sagittarius, adventure. They want adventure. They don't want ambition. Oh, gosh, and that's why you have to be careful for the Pluto and Capricorn generation, because they are coming. They are about to turn 18. They're going to come. They're coming into this world. That's Gen Alpha.
Well, and that's why it's also interesting because like my parents are baby boomers, barely, like they were born right on the cusp of like, whatever Gen X and whatever, but those are Virgos and they're such Virgos.
And Leo
everything
too.
Is about...
Some baby boomers are Pluto and Leo, part of that. And like, that's why the older boomers are really the ones that are like the most villainous, because they're the Pluto and Leo generation. They're like, I'm not going to sell my house. Why would I do that?
Wow, that's so interesting.
Like, you just need to stop we need to work harder. No one wants to work anymore. Like Pluto and Leo. Like, I got to where I am because I earned it. Like, I don't know. I'm just using astrology to talk shit right now.
I know. No, well, it makes sense.
No, but I love it.
It makes so much sense.
It does.
Well, I'm going to note that when I was going through these, it actually said that some of the most likely signs to be great at comedy were Leos and Libras. So there were a lot of comedy people when I was trying to find people for this. So it is no surprise that this Leo lady is one of the funniest of our generation and also one of Hannah's favorite comedians.
Not one of, my favorite.
Okay, her
My favorite
favorite
female comedian
yes,
of all
and
time.
It is Kristen Wiig.
Okay. Leos are also really silly. They're extremely silly. Like, a lot of people think Leos are always going to be like sleek and put together and, just at their best and like not afraid to look bad or vulnerable or embarrass themselves. They can be very self-deprecating. Leo is the sign of self-expression. I'm going to express my vulnerabilities and my silliness. And I feel like Kristen Wiig is honestly a beautiful woman who does not care about looking like absolute dog shit and making everyone laugh in the room. And that can be so Leo, because Leo is not always about aesthetic, right? Kristen Wiig definitely is a stylish woman, but like, not every woman is willing to look as stupid as she does in her roles. Like, not everyone's willing to do that to themselves. But she's like, she loves it. She loves making people laugh. Leo loves to feed on that energy, and Kristen Wiig probably gets so much out of making people laugh.
Her character Denise from SNL was the starting point for my love of her comedy.
There it is. Exactly.
Like,
yeah, and Hannah is definitely not afraid to look like a dumbass.
Fuck no.
Sure.
I do it. I do it to myself. I will gladly continue. I will continue to embarrass myself in public for your entertainment.
That is when Leos really shine, is when they are just fully themselves. Take it
I'm
or leave it.
Open book.
Yeah, and I'm just right over here roasting her ass at the same time. This is where our comedy comes from. You know what I mean?
It's very
both
back
of
and
us.
forth.
It's funny in different ways. Okay, well, speaking of comedians, this Libra man is one of the most out there risk takers of our time when it comes to writing and creating TV and film, and it is Sacha Baron Cohen.
So I actually think he does have a very Libra style of comedy. One of the cornerstones of his comedy is that he really embodies this character, becomes this character. Like, there's no, I don't really think there are screenplays in his movies. It's more of just scenarios. And he knows his character so well, he doesn't even need a script. Like, he's embodying it fully. And the humor is all about how other people react to this character. He provides that character and just lets everything else happen naturally. Some of the moments in his movies are just like so hilarious, and the people who are the most funny are not even like aware that they're being filmed for a movie. Or, I don't know how his movies work, but they don't even look like they prepared anything, and they don't look like they're comedians. They're just regular ass people, and he is triggering that reaction from them. And that is so Libra. Libra is a zodiac sign of balance. They need you to complete the idea for them, and that's how they work. And Sacha, and also he was a wife man. He really was a wife man. I mean, they're getting divorced now, Isla Fisher and Sacha, but for the longest time they were such a power couple. And I'm sure he's not happy about how this divorce makes him look. It makes him look like a very difficult person. Like, she described their divorce like, we're putting down our rackets, we're finally done playing this game. And it's like, wow. Yeah, that's Libra too. Libra loves to compete also. The Aries Libra axis, they're all about competition. So like, that marriage, being married to the Libra man, was a tennis match for Isla.
I'm screaming. Well, we're going to keep this comedy train on a roll here with another funny Leo, beloved by all, Steve Carell.
Oh my God. Total drama nerd. I mean, when I think of like just an actor's actor, I think of Steve Carell. Like, he achieved fame later on in life, And he never gave up on his dream. I feel like he's always been acting, and he was going to act until the day he dies, whether he was going to become famous or not. He had made that commitment. He loves the craft. He was at acting classes all his life and taking all these small roles, and then finally his career took off, and it took off just because he was so talented. Like, he had to really work to get there, and that is Leo. Like, they're going to be artists even if they fail. Like, even if they fall flat on their face, even if they get canceled, like, they're still going to be in the studio creating because they just don't know how else not to. And I feel like I get the same energy from Steve Carell. And, you know, Michael Scott, like, you got to be a Leo to play Michael Scott. Like, the level of self-importance combined with ridiculousness and, I mean, comedy gold, that's so Leo. You got to be a Leo to play that part.
Next, we have a very famous poet. You can see this Libra's work all over social media, and she is a New York Times best-selling author. Rupi, how do you say her name? Rupi Kaur?
Rupi Kaur.
Rupi Kaur?
Yeah. Rupi Kaur is also such a great example of Libra. And I'm going to say a lot of really great things, and I'm going to talk shit just a little too. So I really do have a lot of respect for Rupi Kaur. I think she's a really brave person, and I really actually love what she did for the poetry world. She really brought poetry into the public eye and made it accessible. And that is so Libra, to be a translator. Libra is the lawyer of the Zodiac. And if you think about it, lawyer is like this liaison between their client and the law. And Libras can be that liaison often in life. And I feel like Rupi Kaur was a liaison of poetry. And her poems are largely about love, and they're extremely aesthetic in the way that she draws these little doodles in her books and makes it feel like just so elegant and cute. And her imagery and her metaphors can also be quite Libra as well, just very image heavy. But in a way that can also be where her poetry can be weak at times. There are some metaphors in some of her poems, and I don't have a poem of hers in front of me right now, but where, like, if you actually think about it, you're like, that metaphor kind of sounds ridiculous, actually. Like, if you actually try to picture it, you're like, that is ridiculous, actually. And like, it's really dumb. And I say this respectfully. I really do. I really do. She has some great poems, but there are some poems like that are just ridiculous. And that can also be kind of Libra too. Like, they can be a little aesthetic heavy. Like, they really want everything to come together. Like, a Libra is a type person who, like, will want to make sure their feed is curated. They'll make sure that, like, their resume is perfectly polished, and, you know, they'll pick their outfit. Like, they'll take days to pick their outfit, and they'll do all that, but then they'll, like, forget to, like, prepare, like, the actual speech they were gonna give, or, you know, they won't study for the test, you know. They'll forget to do that part. They just want to, like, charm you into, like, thinking that they're great. And, like, Rupi can be that way too. Like, she's definitely very, very charming, and her poems are really sweet. But, like, there are some where I'm just like, that's ridiculous, you know. But I'm charmed while I'm hearing it, and I won't notice that it's ridiculous until, like, I come back to it 5 years later. Then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that was kind of ridiculous when I read that at first. It was beautiful, but now I can see it's kind of silly. And I say this respectfully again because I do really like Rupi Kaur.
Yes. Well, and one thing when I was looking up all of this stuff too that I found really interesting was that a lot of writers and also a ton of poets in general were Libras, like, over time, hundreds of years ago. Like, a lot of the people that I even originally sent you on the list, I think, were like people that have long died, and you know what I mean, but that are famous for their writing even to this day and are still being studied. And I think that's really interesting. And also because I do know we've talked about this before, but also, can you talk a little bit about why that is? And then also, I know Geminis tend to be rappers, like they're the other poetic, I guess, sign that there is.
Yeah,
and why
totally.
is that?
Every air sign is going to have a way with words. So I do like that you made that distinction in a way between, like, the Geminis being rappers and Libras being poets. That's a great distinction. So poetry is supposed to be beautiful. Poetry is different from prose. It's different from fiction. It's different from a screenplay. It's different from any other form of creative writing. It is meant to be beautiful, and the language itself has to be beautiful, and the metaphors and the descriptive language and the image and the energy of what it's capturing, it has to be musical. And that's what makes it so Libra. And like, there's always an aesthetic to a poem. Like, I don't think they can really be devoid from each other, but you can read a novel and the language can be really bare bones. It can be really just like telling the story, not really trying to like use beautiful prose to exalt you. But poetry has to be that way in order for it to be good poetry. And like a great example of a Libra poet to me is Oscar Wilde. He is the lord of aesthetics. He is the dandy to put all other dandies to shame. That is Libra to me, just the absolute height of aesthetic greatness. You know, and in some of Oscar Wilde's work, he does critique the way aestheticism can also be superficial at times. I mean, that's the whole point of Picture of a Dorian Gray, right? How he's the most beautiful man who's ever lived and he's not aging, and but he has this portrait with all the ugliness on it. That's, you know, all the bad things he does and all the aging, it's all going to that portrait. I love Libra as the poet. And yeah, Geminis. I mean, we got Tupac, we got Kendrick Lamar, we got Kanye West, we've got G-Eazy. Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh, the list is endless. I'm only mentioning a few, but there's more. I mean, we do have Cardi B as a Libra, so I do think that is where aesthetics and rap can, you know,
and Doja Cat.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Perfect example. Yeah, she's all about the aesthetics too, but she's still a rapper and she's still great at it.
Yeah.
Oh. To me, this actress really embodies the Leo spirit, but I'm really interested in what you think. So, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. She's such a Leo. She really is. She was born to be on stage, to be seen, to be an actress. I mean, that's just the most obvious answer. I mean, she knew she was going to be an actress, you know, before. She was like not good in school. She was like, I really don't want to do anything but act. I don't even know if she has like finished high school properly, or like if she just, I don't even know what her educational background is, because she was just always so, I'm an actress. I love to be, I like to make people laugh. I like to make people feel, I like to be seen. And, you know, even when she's giving interviews, she's a Leo. And we talked about silliness. Jennifer Lawrence's whole brand is that silliness. Part of her success is her brand as a person. It's not just her acting, which is great, and she's an amazing actress, but her as a person is such a Leo. The way that she's always self-deprecating, she's always like doing silly things and making a fool of herself and falling down the stairs at the Oscars and making that adorable. Like, I almost wonder if that was planned. Like, Leos also know that a little self-deprecation will make everyone in the room like fall for you. That is in the Art of Seduction book that I mentioned. Self-deprecation and like making the other person feel elevated is all charm. And I feel like that is the Leo charm too. Like, I'm self-deprecating. Oh my God. And like, and you feel better than me all of a sudden, but people like it, you know, people like feeling flattered and better than you in a way. So she kind of captures that. She ends up making you feel like you're better than her, but then in the end, she's actually better than you.
This is why I love Jennifer Lawrence so much.
Well, last but certainly not least, we have one of our favorite Boston boys whose career has spanned decades. I know we already talked about Ben Affleck. Mind you, this Libra man's partner in crime, which is Ben Affleck, is, of course, a Leo. And we talked about the Leos and Libras working really, really well together. And
he did it again with Ben Affleck's name.
Ah, Ben Affleck. I always say that.
Ben Affleck?
She always calls him Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
You're like,
Ben Affleck.
Hey, you did it again.
I'm like, it's every single time. I'm like, wait a minute.
Every time we talk about him, I'm like, I'm like the duck.
Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck.
Yep.
We're talking about Matt Damon, for God's sake. Who I can say his name just fine. Okay? Matt Damon.
So here we have another classic wife guy. The most Libra thing about Matt is he just really, he has BFFs, okay? He has this wife that he met at a bar, I think on set, I believe, and just like love at first sight. They started dating. He's a big star. She is not a famous person. And they're together now, and they've been together for years, and they have all these kids together. And I don't think she has tried to like step into the film industry or parlay that into any kind of career other than being Matt Damon's very dedicated wife. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But you know what? Go more power to her. His business is more than enough for everyone to handle. And he needs that partner to help elevate him and help him in his career. Like he really does need that. Someone to fill in where he needs it. And you even see that in his best friendship with none other than Ben Affleck. They are best buddies, and Matt Damon really loves to like make that known. Matt Damon really wants everyone to know that Ben Affleck is his best friend, and that is very Libra. Libras are very much like, no, that's my best friend. Like they're the kind of people. Libras are the types where like if their best friend's hanging out with someone else too much, you're gonna be like, so have you forgotten all about me? Like.
Well, I feel like Ben Affleck is also like that too with Matt Damon because even in interviews, it like
that is that partnership right there, the Leo Libra.
They're obsessed with each other.
Yeah,
they really are. Well, now that we have seen our future written in the stars, literally,
quite literally,
next we have
Let's Hear It for the Girls. So since we love to end on a positive note, as per usual, Let's Hear It for the Girls is a segment where we shout out the female identifying people in film and TV that you, the listener, should know about.
So these are the emerging or maybe slept on creatives that you can support and check out in the future. So Roya, who are some of these individuals in your life that you're saying let's to that are killing it right now and why? Ooh, Ari.
Well, I would love to shout out 2 women that I actually work with at my job, and they run the video department. Our video department, I work for She Media. Our parent company is Penske Media, but She Media, we put out really great video content with various celebrities, notable figures, experts, and they put out a lot of really great video when it comes to learning about whatever subjects that they are experts in, or getting to know a celebrity on a more friendship level, a more intrinsic level. And I'm in particular, when it comes to celebrities, I'm so impressed with the way that they both get these celebrities to actually talk about themselves. And these 2 people are Allie O'Connell. She is the senior video editor, and Reshma Gopaldes, and she is our video VP. And together they have the busiest schedule. They have when Reshma has told me about her workload, I'm like, how is that even humanly possible? You know, and they somehow do it. They're always like in a rush, but you know, that's how video is. That's how film is, always in a rush. And I respect that so much. But yeah, they get these celebrities to talk. They get them to open up. And in this world where everyone is so terrified of getting canceled, getting celebrities to actually talk with no idea what we're going to ask them or no prep is next to impossible. But they work so hard to get that. And they deal with publicists who have different opinions of how they want the content to go. And their whole point is to protect their clients. And then we have the video team who's like trying to get a funny moment. They're trying to get information that has never been heard before. And doing these video interviews in which we really get to know the stars that we love is no easy feat. And they do it every day, all day. And it's fascinating to watch.
Where can we see some of these videos? Like where do they live, I guess? I assume partially social media, partially YouTube, or where are they?
I would just check into She Media on social media. She Media has an Instagram account. She Media has a website. There are also some other websites you can check out that are part of She Media, and they are Stylecaster, She Knows, and Flowspace. And Stylecaster is actually the brand that I work for, and I cover astrology there and lifestyle. And we're always doing video, and sometimes I'm in these videos too.
Wow.
Talking about astrology, and it's fun.
So Roya, then what are your next endeavors and what can people look out for of yours in the near future?
You know, it's really funny because we all tried filming this a few months ago, and my answer has changed since then. We filmed this podcast twice, and I actually did think it was all meant to be because I do think the podcast came out better to get today. But last time we spoke, I was starting an advice column called Ask a Witch. Ask a Witch is when I invite you to send me your birth chart information, and that is your date of birth, time of birth, and location of birth. And tell me about your problem. What are you worried about? Literally anything. Just think of me like your anonymous pal, because I will never, ever tell anyone about what you write me. And I will look into your birth chart and we can go from there. I will dissect you. I will read you. I will tell you like how it is, but I will do so with kindness, and I will also make you feel really good about yourself and really hopeful for the future, because that's just what I do. So that advice column is up. We've put up several posts and you can check it out. The recent one that I did, I was really proud of. It's about just having that fear that everyone doesn't like you. You know, this person that wrote in feels like their coworkers don't like them. And I looked into their chart and it turns out that that is not true, but she does ruffle feathers because she's so ambitious. And, you know, it's just the classic case of this girl wants it all and she's so ambitious and driven that you're naturally going to have people being haters. So that's basically how the show, that's how the advice column goes. I read you, I tell you why you feel this way, why you're like this, and how you can parlay that into something better than whatever you're stressing about right now.
And you have to check out the photos and the content for this because, you know, when we talked last time, we hadn't actually really seen some of, and they are incredible. You can talk about where the concept came from because I know that's important to you.
Yeah, so we did a really great photo shoot for this column, and it was just a really witchy photo shoot, and we got a lot of inspiration from it on Pinterest actually. You know, I looked at all these different interpretations of what a witch photo shoot could look like, and the one that stood out to me the most is the Love Witch. The Love Witch was a really big inspiration for this particular photo shoot. Instead of like the red colors that you associate with the Love Witch, we went with a more orange palette. And orange is actually the color of my aura most of the time. So orange background, orange aura. And I basically am like a fortune teller in these pictures. And I agree. I do think they're beautiful. And I'm really happy with how they came out. The photographer was a friend of mine from high school, Alexander Bemis. And together we brought that vision to life. And Sasha Purdy, our designer, also helped contribute to that as well. And yeah, it's been great. I'm enjoying that a lot.
And Roya, if you're familiar with the Love Witch, she looks like the Love Witch. She literally looks like her.
True.
So it's like perfect.
That is
you will
so
definitely
sweet.
see the
Because she
inspiration.
is beautiful.
Well,
So are you.
Oh, shucks.
Obviously.
Thanks, guys.
Obviously.
Did it die? Oh, shit.